Mapagpalang araw po sa ating lahat. We are happy to be part of this conference. We are from the National Catechetical Study 2021 Pastoral Action Research and Intervention Project, PARI project, of the UST Research Center for Social Sciences and Education with the CBCP Episcopal Commission on Catechesis and Catholic Education. It is an honor to present a research paper entitled What's with the Filipino Catholics? Perspective from the National Catechetical Study 2021. I'm Clarence.
I'm Tisha.
Vince here.
And I'm Keith.
So this presentation follows this outline. We will talk about our research story and argument. After this, we will share how literatures and catechetical documents describe the Filipino Catholics. And then we present the research focus, our methodological approach, findings, and concluding insights. As a context, the NCS 2021 PARI project is a study on the current state and dynamics of catechetical ministry in the Philippines, focusing on 5 dimensions, namely the catechist, catechetical leaders, the catechized, catechetical formation programs, and the catechetical human resources. So in this study, we present the case of selected catechized respondents, those who receive catechesis from our national survey. In this paper, we argue that the selected catechized respondents' catechetical experiences provide an empirical glimpse of who the Filipino Catholics are. This becomes somewhat a beginning or an introduction to understanding Catholicism in the Philippines. More so, this stands as a starting point of establishing what we call as the sociology of Catholicism in the country. I now turn the virtual floor to Tish, who will talk about how literatures and catechetical documents describe the Filipino Catholics. Tish?
Thank you, Dr. Ayat. Jose Rizal can be considered as the first Filipino to look at Catholicism in the Philippines sociologically. In his works, he critiqued not the faith itself, but the practices of faith of the Filipinos. Leto, on the other hand, looked at how Passion, a ritual passed on to the Filipinos from Spanish friars, inspired peasants into starting and participating in a revolution. As explained by Collins, here we see the important role of social rituals as key to understanding Catholicism in the country. Studies also suggest that to fully understand who the Filipino Catholics are, we need to consider our country's colonial and post-colonial experiences, as well as the many different cultures that abound as Filipinos. For example, we know about the discourse on folk Catholicism, which emphasizes the traditional and ritualistic Filipino practices and beliefs. Another popular descriptor by Batan introduces the concept of split-level Christianity, which is the coexistence within the same person of 2 or more thought and behavior systems which are inconsistent with each other. Interestingly, the contextualized National Catechetical Directory for the Philippines provide a full chapter on our Philippine context describing the Filipino Catholics with 5 characteristics. They argue that these characteristics are tied with the life of Jesus Christ and represent self-identity, meaning in life, sufferings in life commitments, and worldviews. Our study observed the relative differences describing the Filipino Catholics between the selected social science literatures and the NCDP characteristics. This observation serves as a research conundrum that our study intends to unravel. Thus, our research looks at who the Filipino Catholics are, specifically focused on the respondents' catechetical ministry experiences. This means that our respondents are active practitioners of the Catholic faith, as in one or more points of their lives they experience catechesis. Our respondents may be considered as insiders of the Catholic Church, which may not represent the generalist view of Filipino Catholics as we know them. This is guided by the following questions. Methodologically, the NCS 2021 PARI project employs a multi-perspective approach oriented to systematic, participatory, and inclusive approaches in studying the state and dynamics of CM in the Philippine Catholic Church. Generally, this study employs the ERIC approach as it privileges interrogating the experiences of those who have received catechesis. Specifically, our study focuses on the four themes: socio-demographic and economic contexts, socio-cultural and religious experiences, Catholic social teachings and catechesis, and the catechetical ministry experiences of selected catechist respondents. And I'll give the virtual floor to Vince to present the respondent's profile and our initial research findings.
Thank you very much, Tish. Based on our sampling design, which is multi-stage, stratified cluster, and lot sampled, we generated data representing four age groups: children, youth, adult, and elderly, for a total of 6,578 catechized respondents. Also, in order to capture the differences of resources among parishes, our sampling approach included equal representation of catechized respondents between center and periphery parishes. Majority of catechized respondents are females, and about half of them reported being single. Now, our findings will show the conceptual, pastoral, and methodological implications of the catechetical ministry experiences of our respondents. Generally, almost all of our catechized respondents reported being happy as Catholics. Correspondingly, majority of the selected catechized respondents identify themselves as both Filipino and Catholic. Also, most of them reported being familiar with their parish priests and bishops. Socioculturally, the catechized respondents reported that being family-oriented is relatively influenced by Catholicism. When it comes to religious experiences, the catechized respondents also reported being aware of actively engaged in various Catholic traditions and rituals such as Christmas, All Saints' Day, All Souls' Day, and Holy Week. Thus, conceptually, we see from experiences of the catechized respondents the intertwining of Filipino culture and Catholic practices. This means that the texture and shape of what we know as the Filipino culture is closely intertwined with Catholicism and negotiated and reimagined across histories, pre-colonial, colonial, and post-colonial. To continue presenting the findings, I now give the virtual floor to Keith.
Thank you, Vince. Another dimension that our survey looked into was on Catholic social teachings and catechesis. We found out that catechist respondents are eager to learn about the church and the related social issues, and social media remains to be their main source of information. The catechist respondents are not fully aware of church-initiated programs about social issues. Interestingly, on the question of the church being involved in political issues, the catechist respondents are divided. Also, from the perspective of the catechist respondents, the Catholic schools remain relevant and salient in promoting the Catholic faith. Here, we also see the educative role of catechesis in parishes, and Catholic schools remain salient in shaping Filipino social consciousness on contemporary social issues. Regarding the topics they learn from catechesis, the catechist respondents report prayer, life of Christ, and the Holy Trinity as the first three most popular catechetical instruction topics, while the least topics they learn are church history, marriage and family, current moral issues, and human sexuality. When it comes to identifying the catechetical concepts they best learn from catechesis, it is heartwarming to know that our selected catechist respondents reported learning about the concepts of good, love, and forgiveness. For the last study that I mentioned, we found out that 9 of every 10 catechist respondents find their catechetical experiences meaningful. And when asked about what factors contribute to an effective catechesis, our catechist respondents identified the following: formation, support of priests and bishops, access to catechetical resources, support of family, friends, and relatives, and budget for catechetical activities. To conclude, I now return the virtual floor to Doc Yayet.
Thank you, Keith. So, what's with the Filipino Catholics beyond 500 years? In conclusion, we observe that pastorally, although the catechetical experiences of catechized respondents are generally positive, we note that the respondents are also aware of the structural and resources issues surrounding catechetical ministry. Methodologically, as we are limited in just looking into the catechetical experiences of the respondents, this study directs attention to a more thorough and deeper understanding of Filipino Catholicism. Opportunities to consider Catholic studies as a research agendum and subdiscipline in a Catholic country like ours. We also note that catechetical ministry experiences of the catechized respondents may be indicative that Catholicism may persist because of their engagements with Catholic traditions, rituals, and practices. One recent mechanism for the proliferation of Catholicism is articulated by Pope Francis's formal institution of the new Ministry of Catechists in his papal letter entitled Antiquum Ministerium, last May 11, 2021. This, among others, recognizes the crucial role of the catechist in the church missionary expansion in the following centuries. Thus, the question remains, could our experiences of Filipino Catholicism be truly decolonized? With that, maraming salamat po sa inyong lahat. Padayon.